You'll probably struggle to memorize the Quran, not because you don't love doing it, but because of how much it demands of your time and energy. And sometimes it may feel like you're not making any progress despite how much you try, but once you understand exactly what Hifz requires, it stops feeling impossible. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first piece of advice I would give you is that you need to prioritize Hifz over everything else in your life. Memorizing the Quran takes time. It's not like anything you can just do on the side and then succeed at it. And I'm not exaggerating when I say you need to make your entire life revolve around Hifz. The best case scenario is for you to be reviewing up to 4 juz a day and memorizing 1 page a day in the morning and listening to the Quran throughout the day as much as you can. I know that sounds scary, but I'm not saying you have to do all of this at once. You should start by reviewing whatever you are able to do and slowly increase that amount till you reach 3 juz or 4 juz daily. And even if you're not reviewing 4 juz a day, you can still memorize the Quran. But it should always be your goal to constantly improve, because this is what successfully memorizing the Quran looks like. And from my experience, in the beginning of my Hifz journey, I had a lot of zeal and enthusiasm to memorize the Quran, and that helped me a lot to get me started. But eventually, as it happens to all of us, enthusiasm dies out, and I wasn't able to memorize and revise as much as I used to. But because I built that habit of making the Quran the main part of my day, I was still consistent enough to finish my hifz. And if we look at the Muslims of the past, some of the Sahaba and the Salaf used to complete the Quran every 7 days. And in Ramadan, some of them, like Qatada, would complete the Quran every 3 nights. And in the last 10 nights, he would finish it once every night. This shows how great of a care the early Muslims had for reciting the Quran every single day. And unfortunately, the Muslims had fallen very short in this regard. So if Hifz is truly your priority, it should be the first thing you do in the morning, and it should be your main concern throughout the day. It should be to the point where even if your house goes on fire, you still find some time to review the Quran, even if it's a little bit. And this lifestyle is not easy. It is difficult, and it requires you to mentally accept that every day you must review and memorize some Quran. Otherwise, there's no way you can reach your goal of Hifz. And you should not take this as a downside, because there's literally nothing better to spend your time on than worshipping Allah. And one of the best ways to worship Allah is by reciting His words. The second piece of advice I can give you is that you need to memorize the portion very well the first time. Many people rush through their memorization just to tell themselves that they memorized 1 page. And there's nothing wrong with that, since you are striving to achieve that daily goal of memorizing 1 page a day. But in all honesty, memorizing half a page or 1/3 of a page very well the first time is way better than memorizing one whole page without making it very strong. I personally used to memorize 1 page to 1.5 pages daily, and at the beginning, I used to divide the page into 2 parts and repeat each part around 50 times. And eventually, I reduced it by dividing the page into 3 parts and reading each part 20 to 30 times. Now, the reason why I reduced it like this is because the more you memorize, the less repetitions you need to do in order to memorize the portion well. But looking back, I honestly would have preferred to repeat as many times as I could, even if it meant finishing the Quran later. The last advice I can give you is that you need to make sure that you are on top of your revision. Reviewing is the hard pill all of us aspiring Hufaz have to swallow, but review is so essential because there is literally no existing Hafiz without review. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Commit yourself to the Quran, for by him in whose hand is my soul, it is surely more prone to break away than a camel in its bind." So Allah made the Quran such that it has to be reviewed constantly in order to retain it. And there's no other form of knowledge that has to be reviewed like the Quran. But that is only a benefit, since it pushes us to recite the Quran daily, which only increases us in reward. And don't skip review for any excuse, even if you're only able to review for days straight without memorizing anything new. Because would you rather lose what you already have just to gain a little bit more, or would you rather maintain what you already have, even if it means not gaining anything new for a little bit of time? Anyone logical would prefer the former, which is that you retain whatever you memorize of the Quran, even if it means that you cannot memorize anything new for a little bit of time. So I believe that if you strive to implement what I discussed today, specifically prioritizing hifz over everything else and memorizing and reviewing well, you can easily memorize the Quran. If you benefited from this video, be sure to like and subscribe and share with others. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.